Hi, my name's Kris and I was born in Herefordshire and I actually made a decision to follow Jesus as a child. Probably 7, 8 years old, I made a decision for myself. But like lots of people, you can make a decision as a child, but there's something about becoming an adult. You have to go on your own journey and you have to discover these things for yourself. You have to figure out what you believe.
Name Jim Dyson. I was born in Leicestershire, a little place called Kirby Muxloe, back in 1969. And I suppose life for me was quite interesting. 10 years in sales, an awful lot of time focused on targets, money. What came with, the money was the things I wanted, the nice suits, the nice shirts, the nice ties, and then everything else, the sports, the hobbies. And you could pick it up and throw it away quite easily because there's more money coming around the corner.
When I went to secondary school and I went and started to become a young adult, I decided that I really wanted to experience the different elements of life. I wanted to experience life for myself. And it was kind of this strange contradiction because in one sense I was doing well at school, I was getting good grades, I was blessed in that I found study and things like that really quite easy. But then on the other hand, come Friday evening, it was party central really, and I started off dabbling in relationships and drinking quite heavily, as many people do, but that also then led me into experimenting, trying different drugs and things like that. And the thing is, as you drift across boundaries and into stuff, you somehow start to get lost in it. And I really did feel like I got lost in life.
I suppose my career revelation was, let's have a rethink about policing. And in 1998, then started 20 years of policing. And that certainly very much in the early stages was about me, and that became quite destructive in some respects. Became destructive in my own personal relationship with my first marriage. Then the loss of that contact with my 2 eldest daughters, but then continuing to believe that the career ambition and the salary that came with that, and that particular focus was what drove me. The passions and the sports and the other interests that then filled that gap, but there was always a hole, and always trying to fill it with something. And you always felt that there was something missing.
In many senses, I'd got a lot of the stuff that the world would describe as good. I was heading to a great university, I was in a relationship with a great person, I was driving around in a nice car, there was provision in my life, but inside of me, I just knew that there was something missing. It was like there was a hole, there was a gap. It was the 11th of September 2001, a day that many of us will never forget. My story on the 11th of September was that I wasn't watching the news. I was involved in some circumstances, and in the midst of these circumstances, it's like God broke through into my heart. I don't know why he did it that day. I don't know why it happened that morning, but I just remember it was as if a door that was jammed got broken down and God burst into my heart. And I remember physically stumbling back in the circumstances I was in and thinking, wow, I'm lost and I need rescuing.
My eldest daughter became part of Freedom Church many, many years before, and I suppose my contact with freedom and even God was very tenuous through Charlotte's school and a teacher at the school. Charlotte then met her now husband and suddenly started to just understand what environment she was in. I was very resistant, very resentful, but then I had an encounter. And I now believe it was my first encounter with God, where I went out into the Brecon Beacons with a group of guys from church and just saw that there was a bond and a relationship that wasn't founded on, alcohol, money, or other interests. It was founded on a brotherhood, a friendship, and a love of each other. And God came to me and basically said, "You need this in your life more than absolutely anything else. And what comes with that is me."
He so changed my life, and he so filled my heart with a love and with a peace and with a hope and with a joy that it was like, whatever, I just want more and more of this in my life, and more than that, I want you, Jesus, to be the reason that I'm living. And so I'd had that conversation with him, but at the same time, I was still deeply ambitious, and I wanted money, and I wanted nice things. I wanted a nice home, and I wanted a nice car, and I thought maybe I'll get married. And I graduated university, and I had this opportunity to take an incredibly well-paid job in a very, what would have been seen as an incredibly successful career at the top of my game in London, corporate law, great opportunities. And I just remember at this point God saying to me, you could do that, but remember the commitment that you made to me. Remember what you said. And whilst everything within me was almost drawn to this life of incredibly hard work, but almost success in a worldly sense, there was this little voice in me that was saying, God's got a different path for you. God's calling you to something else.
The life before my relationship with Jesus and my encounter with God was, very much centred on me. Despite the fact that I was married with 2 children, I'd got a previous marriage and 2 elder children, and friends, family around me. But the change came when I met Jesus, and it was that unpicking of what's important in my life, because I was almost, I was my own idol.
I took a different job, and by this point I was married to my wife, and she had a similar sense that whatever we do with our lives, we want to make sure our lives count for God. And so we started making some decisions to walk away from things like career. There was this voice of God in our heart that was saying, you're called for more, you're made for more. The plan that I've got for you is a very different plan. And there was also a sense that if we didn't make difficult and tough choices to prioritize God, whatever that looked like, we were going to pay a price for it. We were going to miss out on a measure of life.
What I've now found is that by putting God first in my life, it's just transformed my relationship with my wife, my children, the people around me. I suppose the difference is there's a lot of stuff that I'd probably boxed away in my heart before. God brings it out into the light, and let's deal with it and allow you to grow and then move on. And that's been hugely transformational for me. My relationship with Christ is, you just keep walking behind me. I've got whatever's tomorrow looks like, and just focus on what you've got today.
Today, I'm married to an amazing woman, Naomi. I have 4 children. We live leading church in Uganda, in East Africa. So crazy has been the journey. God took us from that place of feeling almost trapped on the highway of conventional decision making. It's just incomparable. The people that we at one point could never have believed that we would become. We've had opportunity we could never have believed we would get. We have a vision statement as a family, which is we will always say yes to Jesus. And we found that as we've done that, our life has become something so much more than we could ever have dreamed.